You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. And my feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at and turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Good evening. Welcome to Mountain Bears. Welcome to Mountain Bears. That's cute. Psychic Coffee Shop.
We're going to have a whole group of viewers that are now like, is it Friday?
I wish it was Friday. Lord knows it. After the past 2 days, there is thing one, that cauldron isn't glowing red back there, and two, I've not been put in jail.
Hey. Worked out well.
Me and people do not get along. Earlier, I was watching this thing on houses, and it was 15 houses. Oh, lovely. I got a Windows update just pop up. That's cute. 15 houses that people have built if they do not like people. My only problem is most of them didn't have that much property or internet services.
But how many had moats and drawbridges?
Most of them had moats or oceans. I really like the one in Canada that was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean between the U.S. and Canada. So technically, you could both be Canadian and U.S. citizens at the same time.
But do you need a passport to go from like the living room to the bathroom?
Probably not.
I mean, like, give it a few years, the U.S. will try to put a wall.
Yeah, they can try to. I think they've been trying to get ownership of this house because it was damn gorgeous. The tennis court looked amazing, too, although I don't play tennis, so I'd have to replace it with something. I know, a garden.
Well, there you go.
Or let you play tennis.
No. I'm a badminton person. Like, that's yeah.
I thought you played racquetball.
Well, I've experienced racquetball. I owned a racket and a ball and went to a racquetball court, and I've stood there and swung at it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Shannon, I want that shirt. I have a shirt that I've worn on the show before that says, I used to be a people person and people ruined it.
Yes. Which I love wearing.
I know you do.
Absolutely. But, so yeah, interesting week.
Very interesting week. Of course, it came to light. Hello, Ashley, darling. It came to light that the Virginia, and it had to be the Virginia State Police, is a bunch of racist pains in the asses.
Yeah, that was a really frustrating story. Like that's one you just Like,
that's one it's like, huh? Yeah. The whole segment is like, are you shitting me? We are in a pandemic. You are in a naval base area.
Mm-hmm.
You see a black SUV driving down the road. Here, we would not even, give an idea. Oh, honey, it's a 1X, 2X situation. Sharon, here, I have driven cars without license plates on them. I see all the time license plates in the mirror or in the black glass where it says lost plate. Here's an address. Here's a plate.
Here's the number.
Yeah. I am like, what the hell is this? You're treating one of our armed military forces like a common criminal because of your own personal biases.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that our armed military, they have developed their own auto insurance company because they're able to go and buy cars and normally pay cash for them when they come home.
Mm-hmm. Although, do you really want to try that in the U.S. right now with asset forfeiture?
Well, true.
Like, I'm not driving around with money I can't afford to lose.
Right.
Like, you want to, like, asset forfeiture my 20.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay. But not more than that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying, but it was just more so looking at the area, looking at the video, and going, and, one of my daughters, got a speeding ticket a little while ago because it was COVID, and, she was doing 52 and a 55 in an area.
Well, I think it was a 52 and a 50, or
52
like
and
57 and a 55, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't get a ticket for doing 52 and a 55. Like, that's a real struggle.
You get a ticket for doing 43 and a 55.
Yes, you do.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, and I'm like, are you kidding me? She's pregnant. It is COVID. The DMV isn't open.
And there's also supposed to be a mandate in place that, right now, just leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the DMV is... Okay, there was the long period in which the DMV was closed, and then there was the continuing period. Well, there was the period, then they opened, but by appointment only. And we're still going, just don't even worry about crap. And then they've, I think, finally, like, sort of reopened, but they're still, like, they're so swamped.
Right.
Like,
again, it's like,
I struggle with. I struggle with for West Virginia.
Right.
Like, I'm used to West Virginia DMV being a quick, easy experience. Like, and granted, I've learned that has more to do with the regional offices and how they run. Like, some of them are swamped and some of them are like, now we got this.
Right.
Like, they're now serving never goes past like 3.
Right.
They just need 3 pull tags. Like, that's all they would need.
Right. And it's like, are you shitting me? Because, of course, I was a little shocked by my first reaction, which was, what are you doing down there? That's not where you belong. You do not go down there at night, blah, 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 blah. And you just kind of looked at me, and I was like, no, there's certain areas in this state we do not go.
And I'm like, process the sentence you just said.
I know.
Like, I mean, I'm of the mindset of go to those places, get the tickets, let the, as sucky as that is, but, help them show the receipts, literally and figuratively, or this is, a prejudiced area of any variety. Like, I'll show up in court and say it.
I know.
I mean, sorry, I was driving while, homosexual. Whatever that's supposed to look like, but I mean, I stay between the lines,
Yeah, you do.
It's not like I have rainbow truck nuts.
That's because you want me to put a hitch on the car.
Exactly. Because I'm afraid of what you'll do at Lowe's, because we would have to have a long conversation about gross vehicle towing weight.
Is 2,500 pounds.
No, it's not. It's 1,000.
Again, that's more than enough for me to bring cinder blocks, 2x4s, 4x4s, pylons home.
Oh, good grief. Oh, but Ashley, you're very welcome for the barista package. And Shannon wants to know what size shirt you wear.
Large and an extra large. And if they're the only one that's a on is Fruit of the Loom, and then you have to go up a size on everything. Yeah,
just watch out for the shorty shirts for him. He has more torso.
Yes.
So if it's more square shape instead of the elongated, Yeah, get him, go up a size.
Yeah, 4-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2Xs are
She
wonderful.
ordered 2X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I hope you guys enjoy the barista packets. There's a planner or journal in there, and of course, one of our author books. All right, and now let's see. I think it's really interesting, this one, and I'm going to throw it to you to talk about because this is more your department, even though I pioneered this in this state.
Okay.
Check your box, your private box.
Okay. There it is. All right. Oh, come on. Sorry, my computer's doing a lot of things this evening. All right. So, Almost Heaven, West Virginia entices nature-loving remote workers. Under the remote worker program, out-of-state participants who move to West Virginia will receive $12,000 along with passes for a year to indulge in whitewater rafting, golf, rock climbing, horseback riding, skiing, zip lining, and other activities. Can we move out of state temporarily? Can we use someone's address, please?
Ashley.
$24,000.
I understand that. Hey, Ashley, can we come down to North Carolina for about 6 months?
Well, by come down, I mean forward our mail and,
Like, I read any of it that comes in the mail anyhow.
Well, true. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah. Oh, the quote. We want to give folks the opportunity to escape big cities, said State Tourism Cabinet Secretary Chelsea Ruby in an interview with the Associated Press. In West Virginia, there are no crowded places, long commutes, or traffic jams. There's just plenty of places to put down roots and explore the great outdoors. We're not going to warn them.
Shit.
Well, no. Well, I mean, that's all true. Technically, it's all true. But we're not going to warn them about the fact that we're kind of hateful towards outsiders. Like, they're going to be 5 years.
Right. Shannon, no, we will not be in St. Albans on May 8th. Aeson is not doing events until Pagan Pride. That is where Aeson will be at. St. Albans hasn't reached out for anything interesting, so no, I won't be there.
There we go. Oh. So Ashley had to explain what the podcast is, I think.
What the podcast does.
Yeah.
We do a lot. We talk a lot of stuff. News, current events, and apparently how to succeed the government.
Oh, Shannon, I think tell everyone to watch out for the crazy meth heads just kind of covers itself. I mean,
yeah,
you figure it out.
All right. But no, there is traffic jams. There is traffic. There was traffic over at Mother's today.
Well,
that little circle that you have to go through to get into her building, there was a line, and I'm like, who the heck is causing traffic in the Strand?
Well, but she was having internet issues, so maybe the whole building was, and they were doing a mass exodus for that like they do for power outages.
Possibly. I'm telling you, those old people get on the road with it. It's like, forget this. I'm going to my daughter. I'm going to the mall. I ain't putting up with this.
Hi, Gwen. So, yeah. Oh.
Of course we're talking to you. You're a barista.
I don't know. Oh, and hi, Basilica.
Yes, hi, Basilica.
Oh, you ready for questions?
Oh, let me grab a deck.
Okay.
All right, your turn to find tech in the news, and we'll do Aeson's hot take. But let's take the question.
Oh, so we're finding tech in the news?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's BBC Com.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be good. Eh.
All right. So go ahead and read Ashley's question.
All right, Ashley 82696. Plenty of past life questions. Can you tell me about tell me any about my past life?
Well, looking at your past lives, I'd say you probably spent some time in France during what I'll call the revolutionary time, that is the 1700s. Also, I feel like you would have been in China for a good while. You had a thing for Buddhist um, monasteries. I think you spent a good bit of time with that. Um, you aren't one of the Cleopatras or an Egyptian priestess or anything like that. You tend to be a lot of farming and a lot of designers or dressmakers.
Oh, Shannon, that is very sweet of you to invite us.
Yes.
All right, so a good one that the article that goes for you. So the cosmos has been expanding since the Big Bang, but how fast? The answer could reveal whether everything we thought we knew about physics is wrong. Quote from the story, The Mystery of How Big Our Universe Really Is.
Yeah, everything we know about everything that science knows about physics is wrong.
Okay.
Point blank. Everything can be manipulated in a certain era. They will find that that's all the way around there. Also, I feel like that we'll be seeing some developments in string theory probably over the next 2 years that'll be very entertaining. Speldon will be laughing his ass off.
All right. Oh, and Ashley says that's wild because I love France and it's on my dream list to go to. And I come from a line of seamstresses.
Yep. You have a great talent for sewing and beading, especially beading.
All right.
You probably also have an affinity to silks.
Oh, no, I get it now. Like, her niece was confused because we were talking to her. I got it now. To Ashley's niece, I swear to God, we are typically more together than this.
No, not really.
Oh, come on.
No, I mean, let's not do false advertisement, honey. We are always all over the place. I make a bullet list of what I want to go into during the show. I sometimes share it with you. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I just look at you. I don't know what we're talking about. It'll come out when I get on when we get on there.
But, well, yeah. Sometimes we do go that route.
Yeah.
But I like that I now have everything saved to come straight into the studio. That way you don't forget to include me.
True. It's real nice when you show up on time.
Well, no, because there were a couple of times there I'm like, could you send me a link? It's like, 9:29.
Yeah.
Like, hi, are you doing this one alone?
One a day.
Well, Oh, but yeah.
So Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been paused.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the. Wait, I thought it was. Okay, is it Johnson & Johnson that has a blood clotting issue?
Yep.
Okay, why do I keep thinking it was the Moderna one that had that? Or do they both?
I think they both have that. Of course, both of them are based off of some stuff going out of.
Ooh, Ashley asked a good one. We'll get to that in just a second.
Are going off of retroviruses that they're re-engineered.
All right, I'm actually going to just show that one. So can we get a psychic hot tea on DMX's state and kids, and where do you think this will go?
It's been officially paused, Ashley, and yes, you can get a psychic hot tea on that. Joe, since you've done that, can you please copy that and send it to me so it can go onto my list of filming this Thursday?
Oh, for DMX?
Yes.
Sure, I can certainly do that. Well, okay, maybe I can do that. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
I know. So DuckDuckGo can now block Google Chrome tracking methods called Flock, FLOC. I've never looked like DuckDuckGoose.
Okay.
It always seems to search badly.
Oh, DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
Sorry, took me a second. I was like, what? I don't know. I don't think it's exactly the best search engine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, I mean, like their algorithm's a little wonky. I'll give you that. So the results are sometimes a little wonky. But I mean, they don't store your information. At least they say they don't.
Right.
Which, given like, you know, Google something and you suddenly start getting Amazon ads all over the place for it.
Mm-hmm.
DuckDuckGo is a real search engine.
Yep. It is a real search engine.
It is. Which, I mean, funny, we're talking about this on StreamYard, which their logo is a duck.
I know, but you know, they do better jobs than, you know, what we know of. Ooh, Oscar J. Winter River.
Oscar J. Geraldo Rivera.
Okay. Not even sure what he's up to other than, isn't that the dude that, no, that was her. What was his name that used to host a talk show?
I just blanked.
It was Geraldo Rivera, I believe.
Yeah, possibly. Geraldo. Yeah, I think so. Sorry. I was in school.
I know.
When I'm sick, I just crash out. Oh. No, wait. I'm so lost right now. Oh,
That's okay.
I don't know. I'm trying. That's all I've got. I don't know. Maybe that's her Jesus H. Christ.
Oh. Right.
Or my Mary Jesus and Joseph and all of his carpenter friends.
But best get to building my office.
That'd be helpful. They can work on my desk. Oh, I got ideas for my desk today.
Oh, you did you? Do tell.
Yes. Butcher block from Lumber Liquidators.
Uh-huh. That's fine. That's not you trying to compress wood to make butcher block into, and you know, we have to go and buy extra tools.
But I could.
But you won't.
What? But I could.
No, Harbor Freight is already evil.
I don't know. I could ask my brother if he'll turn a desk for me on a lathe.
No, we do not need a round desk.
But it could be fun. Like he could turn a giant sphere that's hollow on the inside, and we cut out like a thing, and
Right.
basically it would look like one of those giant, like a giant version of those little glass planters.
Right.
I can put a little plant on each side of it. It'd be cute.
Mm-hmm.
Look like we're growing a computer.
5 minutes.
Pardon?
For about 5 minutes.
Okay. Fine, talk me out of it.
It's easier for you to do your door thing.
True.
Of course, I'm really liking the idea of the QB desk.
The what?
Cubes. The 6-packs,
Mm-hmm.
9-packs on each side, and the 9-packs on top and bottom.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of cubes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cubes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, granted, but still.
Storage
Like,
bay.
I love cubes, as y'all can tell. Like, you can see behind him.
Uh-huh. And I'm falling in love with them.
Mm-hmm. They're useful.
Very useful. They're very comfortable, very easy to put in. They'll be behind Joe here very soon because we're redoing the entryway.
Yeah.
One of our projects is to do that.
Mm-hmm. We're redoing the entryway, which is back over here, and my desk is going to be changing, and
Yeah.
So,
and I'm going to be redoing my office, but you probably won't see much of it.
yeah. Well, yes, you have done a lot to your office, but yeah.
I have.
I was going to say for the entryway, I threatened to do a calyx. The IKEA divorce maker.
Oh, no, we don't do that because that's cursed.
I mean, I just appreciate the fact that they call a piece of furniture the divorce maker.
Mm-hmm.
Because it will literally, if you have any problem in your relationship whatsoever, if you build this with your spouse, this will be the end of your relationship. And I'm like, that's kind of a scary reputation for a piece of furniture to have.
Right.
Like, it's scary.
It's very scary.
But I was joking.
But it can be very interesting. It's very interesting to watch some of the things reopen that you didn't think would close, i.e. the Exhibition Coal Mines is reopening for their 59th season. Granted, they've changed a few things, but that's interesting. To me, it is. Watching the tourism open itself back up. Like, we need to have more tourism during this time.
Well, like, I get why they're doing it. I get the push. I get, like, seriously, I do. Like, I know we talk a lot about, like, be smart, be safe, don't be stupid, across the board. But I also get that, like, a lot of people got really financially, like, near, like, knockout punch.
Right.
After last year. And I know that there's that, like, please don't let this be a year two. Right. Because I don't think a lot of businesses can handle a year two. Oh, no, he doesn't want to lose any money at that resort.
Well, that's the only thing he's got going for him. I mean, the mining business has been under, and and he did lose his little income tax scheme.
He did, and then he, like, also had to, like, pay some settlements.
Oh, he had to pay a lot.
Knocked him out of the billionaire category. I mean, it's just 2020 was really hard for Jim Justice. Okay.
Yeah, he had to live up to things.
Like, he's now just a multi-millionaire. Like, it's been hard. Like, I don't know if he's going to eat this week.
Oh, well, he'll eat. His wife will actually cook for him.
Oh, I don't know. That is the worst tax plan.
Well, I'm glad that it failed. We have actually a lovely Senate that has a fucking brain.
Yeah, well, West Virginia has been weird with because Ashley brings up, how green we are. In terms of, like, the state and marijuana legalization. West Virginia's kind of gone with the, okay, we're going to legalize it, and then we're going to create a really crazy, for medical. And then we're going to create this really crazy system of authorizing growers and dispensaries. And have we licensed anyone?
They can't license because there isn't a system to license them yet.
Yeah.
They had to go and figure out how to deal with federal banking. This is why we need to get this done right now in the Congress and the Senate of the federal areas and get it done. Over, done with, get it passed. I don't care how they do it. I think, and also get it to where records are sponged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the idea that Virginia hopping on board, it would be a major agricultural boost for Virginia. It would be good for West Virginia.
Yeah.
But of course, if it's going to actually be good, we're going to screw this up. It's sort of like our needle exchange program problem.
Right.
Because, that was a whole mess of a Senate bill. If I remember right, Senate Bill 336 or 334. I know it reminded me of North Carolina one way or the other. 336 being a former area code and 334 being my on-campus, like starting of my on-campus number. But yeah, that Senate bill was a hot mess that effectively made it near impossible to operate a science-based, like proven to work needle exchange program to begin with. And then it added so many things to it. I think it would be very hard to even get federal funding to operate. And then just the reality of it's gonna be a mess, like the fines and stuff that they've created. A whole mess.
Right. And I think it is the bill is a mess, that bill. But no, I think the bid for medical marijuana and recreational marijuana is going to be an awesome thing for agriculture. It's going to be an awesome thing for mom and pop growers. It'll be an awesome thing for, look at Nevada. No, let's take Arizona. $4.2 billion in revenue collected in the first year of legalization. Crime is down by 90%. Incarceration is down by 90%. Basic legalization. You have to get your doctor to sign a paper, and you have to sign a thing saying that you accept this. Done.
I don't know. We still have a lot of people standing on a moral argument about it, which
morals have no place in legal law.
No, but it's West Virginia, and they're going to insert it.
Yeah, right? I know. I think West Virginia needs to reread the Constitution, and one of the lovely things of the separation of church and state.
Yeah, well, right now they can't figure out how to not insert a Bible into sports. We're still kind of fighting to get a Bible out of every woman in the state. We're really anti-Planned Parenthood. We really hate abortion. We really hate, not us, I mean the state of West Virginia. This is the crap they do everywhere they can shove a Bible.
Well, again, I think, and they keep misinterpreting the Bible, so, they need to figure out what to do with that. But again, in 1956, half the laws that are on the books since 1956 would not be on the books if they were following the Constitution. And I love to see them actually push some of them.
True.
That's why I miss, and people get really weird with me when I say this, I miss the atheist woman from Florida that sued the government more times than she had time for. And she magically, her and her son magically disappeared. They never found them.
O'Hare Murray.
Yes.
I think that's her name.
Yeah.
Yes, she was fun. A little crazy, but fun. She changed a lot of things.
She did. A lot of viewpoints.
Well, and a lot of set a lot of legal precedent. But then again, this is West Virginia, and we had a hard fight up until just a few years ago. And I mean less than a decade, to get the Mercer County Bible in the Schools program out of the schools.
Which that's a clear violation of federal laws, and it should have been sued.
And it was, finally.
Mm-hmm.
It took forever.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nightmare
Right.
because that split Mercer County like down the middle.
Well,
Like it was a, you know, it was an abortion level issue.
right.
Like, you know, you're either a Satanist or you're a God-fearing Christian. Like those were your two sides. Like nothing in between.
Self-centeredness. Yeah, you know, if those are my two choices, hey Satan, can you drop the restraining order?
Hey.
Anyhow, you brought a story to the table, and you were saving it for Friday, but I think it's more ripe now.
Oh yeah, oh my god, that story just has so many twists and turns. So Baltimore City Public Schools. In Baltimore, there is a school called Augusta Fells Savage. Oh, I forget the rest of the name. Anyway, so interesting story came out of that school a few months ago, in which a student who had passed 3 classes in 4 years, high school classes, had passed 3 classes in 4 years, had a GPA of 0.1375, if I remember correctly, was ranked 62 out of 120 in his class. Yeah. Mind-boggling to begins there. So basically the press got contacted. His mother went, you know, on air to talk about this. And the fact that the school system totally failed her son. He was not going to be able to graduate. He thought he was going to be a graduating senior. Which alarm bells start going off for me. I think they go off for everyone when you read this story. It's like, how do you not know your child's not going to graduate? And then you start digging into it, and they kept promoting him. He went from 9th grade to 12th, 9th grade to 10th grade to 11th grade to 12th grade. He moved from English 1 to English 2 to English, you know, all the normal stuff you would expect, but this kid had failed and was still being promoted into the next level of those classes. The story's blown up. The principal, one principal is on paid academic leave / early retirement, as well as her assistant principal, under investigation for grade fixing, as well as this incident. And then the principal they brought in to replace her in the interim left a school where she was under investigation for grade fixing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the story just keeps going, and so you sit here and you find out that the school system has zero accountability to anyone. They basically get there is an appointment made by like the city council, and everything after that is the school submits a funding request, and they get a big giant check, and that's it. They can spend the money however they want. They can operate however they want. They don't have to send any reports, because this kid also missed in those 4 years 300 and I believe 65 instructional days, as well. Mm-hmm. I like, again, alarm bells just keep going off on this story. Like, where's the truancy officers? Where's the come to Jesus meeting with your principal and your mama who's going to beat your ass?
Well, that was an important one. My first question was, where's the parent? Because, sorry, my kid would have gotten their ass beat. and sent back to school and summer school. And if they were lucky, I might let them take off of summer camp. But otherwise, they're going to summer camp too.
Well, and that was the other thing is where's the summer school classes for him to make these classes up? Like, why was he being promoted and not put in a summer school program?
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out that only like 50, I forget, their numbers were abysmal for attendance and graduation.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was completely just like jaw dropping. Like Mercer County, West Virginia, you miss like 8 days, you have to go before a judge, like your parents do,
Right.
and explain your truancy and what, you know, like what they plan to do to fix this. And then like CPS gets called and you have to go through a bunch of crap because your kid missed 8 days. Like, you know.
Yeah. But then, of course, you know, Mercer County has Mercer Christian, who isn't even a school.
Yeah, basically. Like their education is unaccredited.
You can't get a diploma in the state of West Virginia from them.
Yeah.
You basically pay to babysit your children, have them brainwashed, and then they have to go and study for a GED.
Yes. And good luck on that, because like the education of like some of the educational materials I saw out of that school, and now granted, I will say this has been over 20 years.
Right.
I don't think it's gotten better. But it's like these were very specific. Like this was not your normal like science or math or whatever. All of these textbooks came from the same Christian publishing company. Like that's where all their materials came from, and they were almost ridiculous. It's like this. What are they preparing you for? Like, what are they preparing you for? Like, how are you supposed to function in the real world?
All right.
Like, you know, okay, I can start to understand you're not going to have sex hell or sex ed. Got that one. I understand that you're not going to necessarily get the most like Darwin-based science curriculum ever. Got that one. Math? Like, come on, y'all like math? Like you're just going to go to basic general math? Like no, like calculus, algebra, trig, geometry, like something, give me something. Like, yeah, no, none of it was set up for that. This was effectively like an 8th grade education for a 12th grade student.
Right.
Like this was material you should know before you hit high school. Effectively, the goal was to be barefoot and pregnant with a kid on each hip and to be subservient to your husband. Yes. Who apparently you're going to be marrying an equally dumbass human being.
Right.
Like, no offense. Well, okay, lots of offense, but what are you supposed to do with that?
Exactly. Like, you know.
You can balance a checkbook. That's the level of math education you're going to get.
Right, which is ridiculous. Now, looking at Maryland, you know, this is a publicly federal school program. Now, if I remember correctly,
and the
No Child Left Behind bullshit is still there. This student was not offered assistance or aid with special education or anything else. This student was not parent was not informed until she was like, "Why isn't my kid graduating?"
Yeah. And then the other parents at this school weren't even informed of the investigations that were ongoing. They learned all of this through watching the news.
Well, I'm surprised they didn't learn it from her Facebook page.
Yeah. Now, the ultimate irony is the CEO, which is what the position's called, the director, the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools, makes $126,000 more per year than the U.S. director of the Department of Education.
Right.
Like, follow the bouncy ball there. This CEO makes like $330 some thousand a year.
Mm-hmm.
My jaw dropped. I'm like, for what?
Right.
Like, and then the local representative they pull in for the news story because they did this little town hall thing. The representative, you're going to guess it quickly, was a Republican whose only solution to this situation was, we need to support parent choice on schools, and we need to get more charter schools in Baltimore and in Maryland. I'm sorry, you just saw what like a charter school system could end up looking like. I'm not saying they all would. I'm saying, like, I understand some of them will be good. I'm sure there's a couple of good schools in Maryland, in Baltimore. They're not all horrific. They can't all be horrific. One would hope they're not all horrific. And I feel the same way about charter schools. Is that, okay, you're going to get some good ones, but you're also going to see a lot of people open schools based solely on the financial incentive to do so.
All right.
And then it's going to be like a for-profit prison system, literally and figuratively.
Well, here's the thing, though, and this is my point with charter schools, is they should have to prove it by their grades. They don't get paid unless those students pass that standardized testing that everyone else does.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think that's the way it should be. I don't like the regular school system now, because if you have a student that is exceptionally bright, let's say they're exceptionally wanting to be a doctor or a lawyer or anything that does not require some classes, they are restrained to age 18. They cannot take extra classes. Like, the model that I graduated under is no longer available. When I graduated high school, I had a certified nursing certificate, and I had 12 college hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I technically probably could have graduated when I was like 16.
Yeah. Well, and like my sister could have, did. One of my sisters graduated a year early.
Right.
And she, like, point blank, a teacher set her down and told her, the fastest way to get out of here is take summer school. You don't have to flunk a class to take a class in summer school, because the program didn't require that.
Right.
You could, like, do English 9 and then turn around, take summer school for English 10, turn around and, like, if you wanted to, just keep stacking.
Right.
And so she did.
Mm-hmm.
It left her as the student without a class, because the class she came in with didn't want her because she didn't graduate with them.
Mm-hmm.
And the class that she technically graduated didn't want her because she didn't come in with them.
Yeah. But again,
she doesn't have a class.
Those models are no longer there. Students have to take electives and have to take 4 years of physical ed. That was 4 years of wasted time, in my opinion. If we're going to cut programs, let's start with PE every time.
Well,
yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything worth cutting. Well, necessarily cutting. Because typically what ends up being cut is arts and music.
Right.
God knows we're never cutting the football team.
Yes.
And that'll pull you out of instructional time more than anything. But like, we will, I don't think cutting is the answer. I don't think cutting things out is necessarily the answer. I think they should all be options that are there.
Yeah. Ashley graduated in 3 years during nights, days, and summers.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, if your children are now in the school system, they can't do that. Mm-hmm. This is where charter schools should move in and deal with this. This is where charter schools were built to deal in and deal with that. Because the original charter school was the gifted programs and the gifted schools, where you go in, you do your classes. If you test up to 11th grade algebra, they're not going to make you take math prep 1, algebra prep 1. You get to take calculus. And I think that that's the way our schools need to go back to being. It also gets students used to that way, because in college, if you know the subject and you can pass the final, you don't have to take the class.
Mm-hmm.
You just test out of it and move on.
Well, see, now my dad technically skipped 2 grades.
Mm-hmm.
But also that didn't quite work out for him. It wasn't that my father was necessarily unintelligent, like he obviously was, but he missed a lot of like life experience there.
Mm-hmm.
Like he got out of school really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But he was by no means ready. Like there wasn't really a good way to like handle that. Granted, this was the this was the 1950s, mid 1950s. You know, it should have worked out better than it did.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality was it just got him out of school early.
Right. But here we have one of the most heavily funded school programs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the CEO of the educational section for Baltimore makes more than our public education secretary. The teachers make more, and they are unionized. So I wonder where they are in this. Like, have their unions been weakened so much that it is not even there?
Well, and moreover, it sounds like it's a system that is so broken that even with a union, all they're really able to do is protect the educators, not necessarily the education.
Right.
Like they're having to focus on, you know, one without having any real power, because in Maryland, no one does.
Yeah.
Like that's how Maryland is set up, is that each school board is effectively autonomous.
Right. And
which, again, to me, brain explosion.
Right.
Like, what do you mean you don't have to answer to anyone? What do you mean that you don't have to report to anyone? What do you mean you don't have to talk about your truancy rates and your dropout rates and your, like, none of this?
Right.
Like, how does that happen? How do you create a school system that screwed up?
Right.
Like, it is literally built for students to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder if there was a point, like did it change? Like, was there originally a really intelligent school system that had to report to people and had to be held accountable and blah, blah, blah. And then and I think it would probably more than likely end up being like a whittling away to make the school choice argument.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not that I'm saying this is all bad. What I am saying, though, is that the proponents of school choice have been working very, very hard to functionally dismantle the public education system.
Right.
By constantly citing studies that incorrectly, you know, like bad data or data out of context, etc., to prove that they're the better choice, that public education is failing. And in some areas, it's exceedingly true.
It is exceedingly true.
Apparently,
we have a teacher in West Virginia earning $22,000. An eighth of that gets spent on her classroom supplies because they won't even supply her with basic PPE. Then we have a CEO in Baltimore on the same federal tax dollar taking home $300,000 a year.
Yeah. And substitutes that are effectively earned 70-some thousand last year just to be a substitute.
Right.
Like, you know, again, it's kind of like you sit there and you read it and you're just like, this just gets crazier by the second. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how you let this happen.
Easy.
Like,
You fire a CEO and you hire 13 and a half teachers.
no, what I mean is, how do you get there? Like, how does an entire state
Mm-hmm.
go, yeah, this sounds like a good idea, let's do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well,
don't get me wrong, there are instances I do think that, like, state requirements over education can inadvertently create a problem in education, because
right.
we're not always listening to legislators, or we're not always listening to educators when we're making legislation. Like, we don't like, I think there are many laws around education that do not take into account the realities of being an educator, of what education is and what the best practices and ideas are. It's the same thing we see in West Virginia. We've seen it all through education here, but the same thing we were talking about a few minutes ago with how we're getting ready to handle, the harm reduction clinics, the needle exchanges,
Mm-hmm.
based on, like, this crap idea that the bigger issue is not enabling drug users, and the bigger issue is, we need retractable needles, and we need to do this, and we need to serialize those needles so that you can trace them to an individual person, and that all the exchanges need to be 1-to-1, not 1-to-1 plus one, which gives someone an opportunity there to like at least have access to a clean needle, even if they lose one.
Exactly.
Um,
Well, and this is the problem. Like here recently, West Virginia passed a law saying teachers can't strike anymore.
mm-hmm,
Now, the reason teachers were striking last time was
mm-hmm,
because they were striking because of how the students were being treated.
mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, and then since they've done that, they've turned
Mhm.
around and removed the ability to payroll deduct the everything from insurance payments to membership fees and dues in teachers unions and organizations. Like, they have sat there and literally whittled away
Mhm.
the ability of these organizations
Yeah, because
to
these organizations were putting them in check and keeping our children safe and educated. Granted,
Mhm.
I don't like how the school system is. I do not like that Board of Education. They have been wasting taxpayers' money for about 2 decades now
Mhm.
and continue to do so.
Well, yeah. Well, and especially when you look at, like, the school situation here,
Hmm.
and the fact that they ran so many buildings in Fayette County, so many buildings straight into the ground with, as little maintenance or none at all as
Hmm.
humanly possible, to then turn around and build a giant compound of
Hmm.
brand new buildings.
Hmm.
We also unapologetically call it the kiddie penitentiary,
Right.
because it looks like that when you're driving down the road. It is the saddest looking school campus I've
Hmm.
ever seen. Like, it looks like a penitentiary with this tiny little playground on a grassy knoll.
Right.
Like, it looks like just drive by and, like, take out a few children,
Yeah.
just like, because they're right there beside the road.
By the interstate.
Yeah.
Yeah. With minimal fencing, minimal protection. Um, they 1, 2, 3, 4 in the city of Oak Hill. We have a population of like under 25,000. They ran down 5 buildings in the span of 20 years. 5. To
Mhm.
the point that they are condemned and cannot be used for anything except storage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a ridiculous. Like, these were once, at least one of them. It was a gorgeous little building.
2 of them.
Like, I mean, it was a piece of its time,
Hmm.
but that's also kind of the bigger issue, is this looked like it didn't change from the day it was built.
Right.
I'm from Mercer County. I went to an elementary school that still operates,
Mm-hmm.
that was built over 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a gorgeous building. But at the same time, it was a fully functional school.
Mm-hmm.
It is still, as far as I know, a fully functional school. I would caution you not to slam any windows, because the school has 14-foot ceilings, if I remember correctly. That's some heavy, scary glass.
Mm-hmm.
Those windows slam, glass shatters.
Well, again, but that's something that can be easily updated. Point being is, we don't pay our teachers in this state, anywhere, whatever everyone else is. They wonder why they can't get teachers in Welch after providing housing, higher pay in the state, and you still can't get teachers there. In Fayette County, they keep closing and consolidating schools because they can't keep teachers, and they keep running buildings down. Collins High School, that became Collins Middle School, was a gorgeous building. It housed over 3,000 students in a day. That's its capability. Wonderful teachers, wonderful setup, room for children to grow and play. And now they're in a compound called New River that looks like a prison sentence.
Yeah.
On a busy interstate.
Yeah. It's I hate the school.
Yeah.
I will grant that I've had moments over the years. I've seen different schools and been like, that's a really pretty school, and I've seen, really?
Yeah.
But this one takes the cake.
Yeah, there's no
window. It's a compound. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's no window.
It looks like a prison, like a school to prison pipeline.
Right.
All you need is to put the penitentiary right beside it.
Don't give them ideas. They still own another 12 acres there.
Maybe that's plan 2.
Right.
Phase 2.
And they wonder why these schools are failing. They wonder why why do we have a student that passed 4 classes in 4 years, and there's not an EPA, there's not an IEP done on this child, there's no West testing done on this child, there's no team effort going into this child.
Yeah. Well, and then you look at the number of students in a similar situation as the student. And honestly, I don't even know that school knows where to start. If you have that, it's one thing if you have a small group of kids in a school system, percentage-wise, that are struggling. Right. At the rate these kids are struggling, how do you have, you can't even have an after-school program.
No.
There's no, all these kids are struggling. Most of these kids are struggling. If almost 50% of a class, as in a year class, is, has a 0.13 GPA or lower, where do you start to fix that?
Well, and what even worries me more is this one little line. Baltimore ahead of only Detroit and Cleveland. Only Detroit and Cleveland are the ahead. That's 2 other school districts that are also 2 other school districts that need good schools. Well, Detroit, can you imagine the amount of plant workers there, lower level income earners that need that hand out and hand up, out to get them out of it and hand up to get them above it.
Yeah. But Detroit is another one that has gone through a massive school choice push. And that has done a lot of damage to the Michigan in general school system and the Detroit school system. Is because more and more money is leaving public education, leaving these schools at a point in which they have more building than they need.
Right.
And they're not getting enough funding to maintain basic facilities because more and more children are leaving these schools.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm kind of at is, ultimately with the school choice argument, with it pulling this much money out of education, public education, like Detroit makes perfect sense. Like if you take away all the money to operate the school system, what more do you expect than collapsing ceilings and no heat and
right?
What else did you expect? Like you took all the money to operate this building away with no plan to like gear down.
Well, I don't know. And this is my position, and any of our listeners that are in this area, I have one statement for you. Homeschool your children. If you can't homeschool them because it doesn't work for you, be on their teacher's ass. What's the grades? What are they working on? Have them tested. I think every child by grade 3 should take what's called the West Tech test. It immediately identifies if they're a different learning style, if they have a learning disability, if they have a learning understanding issue. At grade 3, you can easily begin teaching them to overcome them, adapt to them, or find workarounds through them.
Well, and I will say, as someone who suffered for many years, one, get your kids' eyes tested. Like literally take them to an eye doctor, please.
Yes.
Like I know it's expensive. Believe me, I know it's expensive.
It's $76.
Well, but it's still a lot when you're raising a kid.
Right.
And I get that. And there's so many other things they need and so many other school supplies and so many other things that seem more important and may very well be. But if there's anything you can do to help them in education more than anything else is making sure they at least have even if that kid at 5 years old has 20/20 vision, every couple of years, just make sure that that's still there. Because I went to 5th grade before my visual issues were figured out.
Right.
And I covered for it well.
Yeah.
Granted, that meant I read books here and I sat in the front row of every single one of my classes. And it wasn't until 5th grade that I had a teacher assign me to a back corner row. And for the first time, I couldn't see the board. So she gave a quiz. I answered half of it because I only saw half of it. And that was the first clue anyone had. I might have a vision problem. And I got glasses, and my first things were understanding that leaves were individual items. I thought when leaves fell off a tree, they broke up and became what was on the ground. I didn't understand conceptually. Fifth grader. I did not conceptually understand that they were the same way but green on a tree.
Right.
5th grade. That's a little screwed up.
Right. Okay. Here are some facts. A pair of kids' Nike shoes, buying them from Nike directly is $33. The average cost in the United States for a child's eye exam is $30. So skip the Nikes, buy them Family Dollar shoes, and take them to get their eyes checked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because it does. You end up I remember 2nd grade being told I was being put in a slow readers group because I had a teacher that required us to sit bolt upright and read with our book on the desk. Unbeknownst to anyone, I can't see that. Right. I am struggling one-eyed to try to read that.
Right.
And I can't.
Right.
And so I had this was an old school teacher who loved embarrassing people. She thought that was the greatest way to get kids to learn was just to embarrass and mortify you to death. Didn't work. She probably created more dropouts than any other teacher in history.
Well,
Because
may have done that.
do what now?
Miss Miller in Collins Middle School, I'm quite sure, took care of that.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, by second grade, we had kids that hated education. They hated school. They hated coursework. They hated coming to school, being at school, being in her class, because she was, and again, second grade. Like second grade, technically not all that hard.
Right.
You know, like, hi.
Yeah.
But by second grade, these kids hated the idea of learning.
Right.
You know, the ones that could not stay on her good side.
Right.
And I couldn't stay on her good side because I couldn't see.
Right.
And so that led her to, you know, effectively tell me I was stupid because I couldn't see. And like, that's one of those things. It's always been a thing for me, is like, get your kids' eyes tested. Please get your kids' eyes tested. I don't know how many educators are. Again, there's lots of great teachers, but there's a few that aren't, that are stuck with some really outdated, outmoded, completely bad teaching styles.
Right.
That they were taught. They were legitimately taught.
Right.
Was in the best interest of this child, because I really, in hindsight, think this teacher thought she was helping me. Truthfully and honestly, I don't think she meant to be mean to any of us. It wasn't like she got up like Cruella de Vil one morning and said, I'm going to destroy them.
Well, I think
trying to help.
Well, I understand she's supposedly trying to help, but no, I think every child should be West tested. Like, I think every child should have an eye exam. I think every child should be allowed to make their own healthcare decisions by age 13. Without fail, without question, without, problematical problems.
Yeah.
I don't know why we keep questioning this and keep pushing this and keep thinking that we just need to raise the age of control.
Very much so. Like, we're definitely taking this idea of adulthood and pushing that number out. Do I think there should be an intermediary period? Absolutely. Because I understand that for a lot of technical age 18 and up adults, there's a point there. They're still not really a good adult.
Right.
Like, give them a second chance. Not for murder, not for robbery, but, like, kind of slowly adjust them to adulthood. Because in the US, our general theory is, one day you're 17 and you're a dependent of your parents and under their authority. And, if you run away this morning, you're a runaway. And then sometime after midnight, you're a full-grown adult and no one can do anything to you, tell you what to do, blah, 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 and get the hell out of my house. You no longer deserve, any support or anything. Good luck. Hope that works out for you.
Right.
Which is a problem we see with the foster care system. That effectively says that, like, you turn 18, the check stops. Your foster family has no obligation to do anything but say, have a nice life. You turned 18, I think you get a couple $100 or something, and it's like, good luck.
Right.
No, like, that doesn't, no. I struggle with that one. I think there's an intermediary period.
Right.
Doesn't mean we need to extend childhood into adulthood. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we need a lot more of a safety net for those that are 21 to 25 at least.
Right.
More than just healthcare.
Right.
That actually acknowledges the fact that, okay, you're new to adulting, you're going to screw this up a lot. Like you're not going to pay taxes. You're going to forget to like register vehicles and renew licenses, and you're going to forget a lot of things because you're a kid.
That's because they're treated like children, point blank. Start them at, I like Shannon, the way she's handling it. Point blank. Start them at 13. Start giving them more power over themselves at 13.
Yeah.
In other countries, at 14, they can marry, have children, and work a full-time job. What is wrong with the United States? Keep trying to control and reduce.
Well, but I think what I'm speaking to is the fact that we can't legislate how someone raises their child. If they raise that child till age 18 to be totally, completely, and utterly dependent for someone else to feed them, clothe them, whatever, I still think in adulthood, like once they turn 18, and that can rapidly change because they do something and tick off mommy, and mommy throws them out, or dad or whatever, that there should still be a little bit of a safety net there that goes, okay, let's help you get on the best path to adulthood. Without necessarily making a decision that you make at 18. Again, I'm not talking about robbery and murder. Like, if you can't figure that one out at 18, that's a real bad choice. I don't know how to help you.
Right.
But for other things that can have significant impact for decades, to help alleviate that no, pause.
Right.
Like, before we go down this road, let's kind of have this, like, okay, you're not a good adult.
Right.
Let's help you become a good adult.
Right.
Like, what do you need? What do you need to know? Where can we send you to classes to learn some adulting skills, some basic understanding of what it is to be an adult? Because obviously someone failed to give this to you. And again, we talk a lot about cutting things out of education, which a lot of schools have. Some of those being programs like Home Ec that will teach you some basic life skills. Not a ton of them, but some.
Right. And I love that Shannon's teaching her children to cook, budget, and such. Balancing a checkbook should be part of education. Stocks, bonds, home loans. Dear gods, if people had taught more, granted, I bought this house 3 times, but people should have taught, I should have been taught how to handle a mortgage. All right, so our next story up is kind of a little bit in your field. See your private chat.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Sorry, I just saw it. Sorry, it's a hot topic for me. Like, I know, think
it's a hot topic for me too. Point blank, there's a good reason I am not a parent any longer.
Oh, Surveillance Nation. A BuzzFeed News investigation has found that employees at law enforcement agencies across the United States ran thousands of Clearview AI facial recognition searches, often without the knowledge of the public or even their own departments. Oh, so a controversial facial recognition tool designed for policing has been quietly deployed across the country with little to no public oversight. Yeah. So BuzzFeed has created a searchable table of 1,803 publicly funded agencies whose employees are listed in the data as having used or tested the controversial policing tool.
Yeah.
In many cases, leaders at these agencies even the leaders were unaware that the employees were using it.
Yeah.
This is a nightmare. Oh, this is, yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to see a little more about what this is supposed to do. Because I get the idea, but it's like, how are they misusing it? Like, I know they're using it and like no one knows about it, and that's bad enough. All right, so for years, law enforcement agencies have experimented with facial recognition, a technology that promises to help identify people of interest by matching surveillance photos to known images, such as a headshot from a driver's license or passport. Yeah, Clearview has pushed its technology in the mainstream with a product it claims is both more accurate and cost-effective than those of competitors. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah. Now, first of all, what worries me about this
Mm-hmm.
is, our phones have facial recognition on them. They don't work. It's not accurate. It's already been proven inaccurate when dealing with minority populations,
Mm-hmm.
which is already targeting. It's
Mm-hmm.
already been proven to be inaccurate when working with, most people have disabled it on their cell phones because it's one of the features that don't work. Heck, half the time, my fingerprint doesn't work on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
If they're using this in scans of just normal surveillance, like, say, at Walmart, how inaccurate it is. How many people are being harassed, arrested, whatever, and not even being the same person. Furthermore, our surveillance technology in this country sucks. Y'all seen some of those, shoots from Walmart's or the gas station or wherever else?
Oh, yeah.
Hell, it could have been anybody.
Well, like I've had ones that it's like it could be a complete stranger that I've never met, or it could be a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in stories from all across the country. Like I can't tell.
Right.
Like am I the only one that sees some of those shots for like news stories like child abduction or robbery or whatever, and you're just looking at it going, that could be virtually anyone.
Right.
Like I'm not getting enough detail here,
right,
to even begin. But and I think that with the false positive rates,
mm-hmm.
that is a large part of the concern and the problem with these technologies. But it also kind of ends up having this moment if this gets widely adopted into law enforcement.
Right.
The same thing as both some of the techniques and the beliefs that law enforcement already have that are inaccurate, but also things like lie detectors. That was gold standard of whether or not you were telling the truth, and whether they needed to focus an investigation on someone, and how many investigations were absolutely botched because someone failed a lie detector. And the police kept looking for decades at this one suspect, or sent them to prison, only to have DNA come back decades later after someone's been in prison for decades, and go, not even possible.
Right.
Like, we have DNA evidence. It doesn't match the person in prison.
Right.
You screwed up.
Right.
Someone lost their life because you got focused on the wrong person. I think the same thing can happen if you're having like random images that may or may not be the right person pop and connect to someone's personal identification with a name, an address, and a phone number. I think it leads to sloppy and lazy police work.
Yes.
Like, or can.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, look at racial profiling. Look at profiling in general and how terrible that is. This just adds to it. The technology isn't accurate enough in general.
Absolutely. But then we also have the side problem of police departments using DNA evidence and submitting it to like 23andMe.
Right.
That will effectively pull genealogical data and match you up with a distant family member to find a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
That one still bothers me.
Right.
Like, again, I think it's somewhat lazy police work.
Well, that one I'm kind of for.
Yeah.
If it is like in a database, there's a DNA sample.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. It's like fingerprints. fingerprint, boom.
Yeah, but but I also look at it and I know like catching criminals, good thing.
Right.
I get that. Like you catch a rapist this way, it's a good thing, and I get that. But at the same time, your third cousin agreed to having their DNA profile stored and being matched with people that pop in that system, and sharing their information with people that vice versa. Your second cousin didn't.
Right.
Your first cousin didn't. The ultimate suspect didn't.
Right.
But through process of elimination, you end up, losing your privacy.
We lost our privacy the minute the internet was plugged in.
True. And we haven't had a lot of good ability to roll that back since.
Right. So we just need to get over this privacy thing because it isn't there.
I know, but ultimately then you end up in a police state. Because if you have zero privacy,
which we do,
then ultimately you end up with everything that one should be able to have private or could have private being open for everyone. Like at that point, like the only thing like holding us back is HIPAA. And even that has, some other alternatives written in.
You want to tell me that the people that took ransomware at Princeton Community Hospital did not turn around and sell those records?
Actually, no. No. Well, okay, as far as the public reporting goes for that incident, the ransomware was effectively a money grab. No data was transferred out from those systems. Like they could find no evidence that any data was transmitted from those systems.
How many data breaches? I mean, I get an email every 3 weeks. You're a part of this data breach. You're a part of this data breach. What the heck?
Yeah.
Okay. Again,
and we should be more concerned.
Right.
Ultimately, we should be more concerned. And if you look at like the Heartland incident, which was, I don't know, a decade and a half ago now, people were furious at the idea that a credit card processor had so horribly mismanaged their systems, their network, and their data to allow that to happen. And you're right. Now when it happens, we're just kind of like, another one. I mean, that's where we're at.
Right.
Is we're numb to it.
Well, we're not only numb to it, it's just a fact of life. It's like, it's a fact of life to get a speeding ticket in your life.
It is. But at the same time, I like this is where I have the problem. Is getting a speeding ticket is ultimately related to your own choices. You chose to drive fast. Maybe for good reason. Maybe for good reason. I'm not questioning your judgment. Just you made a choice. You personally made a choice. With these data breaches, you don't really have a choice.
You don't really have a choice on a speeding ticket
that's your
either.
choice.
Point blank, it's the type of car you drive. It's the shape of the car you drive. It's the belief and view of the police officer that stops you. It has nothing to do with you speeding.
Fair. Very fair. I get what you're saying, that there are other, like, that your speeding may not get you stopped if you don't hit certain racial demographics, age demographics, vehicle demographics, etc. Like, I think we were all kind of like laughing our butts off when like Jim Justice got pulled over. That's been a while. Um,
But
we
no,
all found it a bit hilarious. Like, you pulled over Jim Justice. Like, I can't imagine being that officer and going, "Oh shit!" Like,
no, but
oh,
that's
this
the
makes me
fact. We could put you,
mm-hmm.
and we could put one of my girls
Mm-hmm.
in two different cars. We could
Or
put
the
her in a
same vehicle
Mercedes Benz.
driving on the same road.
Listen, put you in your Kia, put her in a Mercedes Benz,
Mm-hmm.
driving on the same road, keeping the same speeds, drive you through Mount Hope. She'll get pulled over in a heartbeat. You won't even get noticed.
And vice versa. If I were driving the Mercedes, I technically, judging by how police profiling seems to work, look like someone who could own a Mercedes. Their first thought when they look at me is not stolen vehicle. That's a problem.
Right.
That is a huge problem.
Right.
Like, and not to be discounted. It's not funny at all. Like that. Like, I know I say a lot of funny things. This isn't one of them.
Right.
Versus, even if they are driving my Kia, it may still be considered too new, too good, too whatever. Like, even at that, it's like your racial profile there, or your profiling parameters have a lot of issues.
Right.
But it all then there's the co-problem of, if you drive a vehicle that looks appropriate to your demographics, you're getting pulled over because the appropriate for your demographics has issues, easy ticket issues. Like, there's no win.
Well, and
keep a nice, like, and that, well, I'm saying it in support of what you're saying,
right,
is that if you do everything you're supposed to, you work hard, you go to college, you get the degree, you have a great job, you're going to get pulled over.
Right.
Because your vehicle's too nice, too well kept, and doesn't look like something you should be driving. Or you don't end up there through whatever keeps you from there. And so demographically, your vehicle matches what they expect. You're still going to get pulled over.
Right.
Like, there's no win. There's there's no middle ground there. It's all, you're going to get pulled over.
Right.
Shooting fish in a barrel.
Right.
Pulled over.
It's like driving through Summersville. It is more likely to be female and get pulled over than male. It is more likely to be female driving a vehicle that doesn't look like it's yours to get pulled over.
Is that why we have so many hot pink vehicles?
That is why we have so many vehicles that it's like, why do you own that? Here's an example. I owned a minivan. I never got a cop behind me. I brought home my Mitsubishi Spider Eclipse convertible with Ohio tag from the entrance of the state of West Virginia to me pulling into my driveway at this house. 5 cops followed me behind. Why? Because it looked too new and it didn't belong in the state.
I will say, out of the 2 tickets I've had, and yes, I've had 2, one was the dumbest ticket I think any human being could ever get, and I got it. I received a ticket for failure to yield. I did not yield properly. There was nothing coming. Apparently, in the state of West Virginia, you must still, at a yield sign, come to a complete and total stop. This was news to me. I don't know. I didn't get that question on my driver's ed exam. I don't know. Like, I thought if nothing was coming, you could go. Now, the other ticket I got, dead to rights. Like, technically, I should have gone to prison. I probably got much better treatment than many, 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 many other people before and since me.
Mm-hmm.
I also got the hell scared out of me because I thought I was going to end up dead in a ditch by this officer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I haven't speeded since. Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, like, I'll be like, worth it. If I get pulled over right now, worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, yeah, like that day, yeah, I deserved a ticket. Like, didn't even argue it. Didn't just, how can I pay this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where I went with that one. Like, nope, not arguing it. Not even gonna try.
Yeah. So the tickets I've gotten in the past 10 years, driving 43 and a 55, off and on ramp, meaning I was coming onto the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
I got a ticket for the ticket was a speeding ticket, and then I got another ticket with the van because the license plate light was out.
Okay.
During the day.
How did they know?
They didn't. They pulled me over. Now, granted, these are the vehicles that I had bumper stickers. Gay by nature, witch by choice.
Mm-hmm.
These bumper stickers. That clergy with the big pinnacle. Yeah. Those have been the two tickets I've gotten in 10 years.
Yeah. Well, Shannon's pointing out hers doesn't even turn on in the day. And that's where my brain is. No one does. No one's license plate light turns on during the day. Otherwise, you have an electrical issue.
Exactly.
Like, how did they know? How would they know?
Right. But as soon as I started driving your Kia,
mm-hmm.
or the Oldsmobile that I had,
mm-hmm.
no bumper stickers. Suddenly, I stopped being followed. I stopped having my plates ran. I stopped having my mother call me and say, I heard your plates on the scanner. Did you get in trouble again? And believe me, I drive when I'm alone like a speed demon.
Yeah, I try not to think about that.
I know. Point being is, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a very conservative vehicle.
Well, I mean,
it's like if you choose my vehicle to go on a crime spree, you've already screwed up. Like,
please.
I'm just saying.
Once she gets her bands open, she's all ready for it.
Yeah, she is a bit of a sleeper.
Yeah.
Like, the Kia Soul really is. Like, I'll tell you now, when you test drive it, it feels like even the nice one, the 2-liter versus the 1.7 liter. When you test drive it, it feels a little sluggish. And I'll tell you right now, if you buy one, you've got 6,000 miles to break in that engine. And it is almost night and day when you hit 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of a sudden, it's like, it just takes off.
Right.
Like, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either, but I think that she drives differently when I drive her versus you. But that may be because I switched the steering up.
That would do it.
Yeah, because I switch it to sport, and it does a lot better it feels like a lot smoother drive to me.
Well, and 99.9% of my driving is like grandma on her on her way to church on Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like 99%.
Right.
Like, Rebecca, our insurance agent, if you're watching, I'm so sorry to tell you that. Like 1% of my driving is really bad. Please don't up our rates.
Just gonna up them anyhow because I'm going to get my sports car, and I'm going to see about getting my FOP back to put on it.
Oh, Shannon's is TARDIS blue.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
Yes.
Love it, love it, love it.
All right. You guys have a lovely evening.
Absolutely. Well, and we got to switch up. We got to thank our baristas. Come on. So we do want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, and Ashley Guest. If you'd like to support the show, please visit PCSPnetwork.com.
Yes, and we hope you're enjoying your barista packages. Look forward to a episode of Psychic That Plans, and we also have a Psychic Tea episode now to film. And, we're going to have some more fun going on along the way. All right. Also, Patreons, we finally figured out how to give you your videos early.
Yes.
So be looking for drops. All right. Y'all guys have a great evening, and we'll see you on Friday at 9:30. Bring your coffee.
Stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop.